Good morning. That's better. So I play the Fender Stratocaster. I'm a guitarist. And I'm going to challenge Bob to a dueling banjo session for the next time. I can guarantee you, what I lack in talent, I make up with noise. So this is going to be a good session. How many of you are practitioners of IT here? That's good. Well, there's not too many. I'm surprised. So I'm a practitioner of IT. This is what I do for a living, and I've been doing this for a long time. And when I come to these events, I try to learn more. But it's surprising that how many people are advising practitioners on how they should do IT. And very few have really done IT. Right? So I'm also a tennis player. And every 4 balls, I can hit the backhand over the net. Okay, that makes me a semi-decent tennis player. But when I see, Federer or Rafael Nadal in Wimbledon, I'm the guy shouting from the TV saying, why did he hit it cross court? He should have hit down the line. It's an easy slice. Why couldn't he have done that? And my wife and my family look at me and say, buddy, your tennis is not that good. You shouldn't be telling him how to play the game, right? But anyway, I come to these events, and I always want to learn more from the practitioners, the folks you go through, because sometimes the answers may be obvious, but to actually deliver it is not that easy. So what I want to do is share a few things that I'm kind of learning as we move along. And hopefully it's an invitation for all the practitioners to come and challenge me and change my point of view or collaborate and learn more from you. So that's the tone of the presentation, if you will. I haven't figured it out yet. So you've heard this. It is a liquid world. Things are changing. And I see that things are changing even faster. Right? The businesses are being transformed. You saw from the last presentation by Bob. And it's getting transformed faster and faster and faster. Business models are being reinvented, right? It's not just one industry. Every industry is being changed. So we have a lot of you are customers. Thank you. A lot of you come to our briefing center. And I'm always curious about the business model. Most folks want to talk about technology. They want to talk about how to get to the cloud. How do you do mobile? How do you do things internally? I'm always curious about what is your business and what's happening to your business. We had a big insurance company come recently to one of our sessions. And they were talking about how to set internal cloud and how do you harness the power of cloud and how VMware could help them. But in the back of the mind, I was just thinking, what happens if you're to the whole industry? What happens, I asked a question, if Amazon starts selling insurance tomorrow, and people corrected me and said they already do, wouldn't you buy from them? Why would you not? Why would you not buy auto insurance from Amazon? And that's the disruption that people are traditionally thinking of, how can I reduce cost? But there's a complete disruption going on. And that's what you have to think about. Now you have cars coming up with intelligence and Internet of Things. What if when you turn the car on, you can go on demand, get auto insurance. When you turn the car off, you can disable auto insurance. Right? If somebody offers, I don't know if somebody does, but if somebody offers that model, wouldn't you sign up for this? It's insurance on demand. Because I'm not driving a car now. I ride a bike to work most of the time. But like most of you, I have auto insurance, and I'm paying for the fact that I may be in a car sometimes and driving for 2 hours or 10 minutes, and I'm paying for the whole year. So anyway, that's the curiosity. Is every time I go to a briefing center, I look and say, my God, let's not just talk about the technology. The whole business is probably going to get transformed, and it's almost in every industry. The other thing that is happening as well is there's new class of competition coming in. And you all heard the story about Uber and Airbnb, people with no cars and no real estate, being one of the largest taxi service in the world, if you will, and one of the largest companies that offer bed and breakfast, and they have no inventory. That's just scratching the surface, right? That's just scratching the surface. Now, it just opens, they invented a new term called, how can we create a Uberization of this model, right? And a lot of folks, I live in Mountain View, and a lot of folks, the discussion is just that. How can we do an Uberization of this? Can I do a Uber kind of childcare, which is already there? Can I do a Uber animal care? Can I do a Uber something else? So a new class of competition is coming, a new class of threats is coming for us. The CIOs, the CEOs are giving us different priorities. So you've heard about this innovation. Every CEO wants a CIO to drive innovation. So there are articles on his CIO, the Chief Innovation Officer. They also want to drive the customer experience. Is the CIO own the customer experience, if you will? And of course, security. You can do all this work, but when you go to audit committee, the person who goes to the audit committee typically is your CISO and your CIO. And there, the people are asked the question, how secure is the data? They don't just ask about innovation. So it's always balancing cost, innovation, and security. So the way I tend to think about it is, in my career, I grew up on the beach. I'm not a surfer, but I do body surfing. And I watch the waves. And you can see certain surfers are just waiting. They go for a whole hour. They'll be waiting for the next wave. And they always believe the next wave is coming. So they wait and wait and wait. And typically when they catch the wave, they probably end up not catching the right wave, right? Some people take it too early. So the whole trick is you need to be able to read the waves and you have to ride it. And fortunately, all of us, I have been able to ride a few waves in technology and actually catch it and run with it. Now, if you wait too long for the wave, if you wait too long, if you're not confident about where the technology is headed, and you wait too long, then you get nothing from the wave. And if you take it too early, you get a wipeout. So it's important to not just wait for the next big wave to come. You have to ride the wave you have right now. I would submit to you, and I need some feedback from you folks at the end of the session, is there are two big waves happening right now, and people are chasing after the next big wave, right? We are tired of people talking about cloud and mobile. So when we come to seminars, we're looking at what is the next big thing, right? And I'm worried that we are going to miss the two waves that are happening right now. And a lot of us haven't really ridden those two waves yet. Well, why haven't we ridden those waves? And you could argue that it's not that simple. I mean, everybody has a why not cloud strategy or a mobile-first strategy. It all sounds cool. But to actually do that is not that easy. It is expensive in a lot of cases. You still have legacy. Sometimes you wish you can just start fresh and just go to the cloud. And that's why a lot of startups kind of can start with the cloud without a data center or build hybrid clouds that can go faster. That's not the case in any of our companies. So you still have a lot of client-server legacy products to work, and they are mission critical. Security is still very, very important. And this fragmented data center, so the cloud silos, as you would call it, is we are struggling to get information even when we own all the data center and all the assets, right? It's not that easy to get information in a data center, even when you own all of it. Imagine now that your information is on several clouds all over the place, and you're coordinating across multiple SaaS providers. How would you get this information? It's not that easy. So big data is important, analytics is important. And there are tons of software providers who will sell you solutions that seemingly makes this happen easily, but it's not that easy. We've all been through several generations of software selling where that was supposed to work within a data center, and it still hasn't worked that well, right? So I want to just share a little bit of my own journey on surfing the technology waves. And I was fortunate, I look back now, I guess when I was doing it, I didn't realize I was actually riding a wave. This is just a sport that you come and do. But I was fortunate to have caught in a few waves. Early in my career, I was with Johnson & Johnson. This was probably in the 90s. And at that time, if you remember, quality orientation, manufacturing was very important. We were losing our edge in manufacturing in this country. And so there was a big integration on automation. They call it SCADA, computer-integrated manufacturing, et cetera. That was a big wave. Every company wanted to get expertise in factory automation, computer-integrated manufacturing, win the Malcolm Baldrige Award, and so on. That was a good time. You needed really technical people who understand real-time data processing, robotics and so on, I happened to catch that wave in J&J. That served me extremely well. And every company in the world was following that trend. So when you were a SIM or a SCADA or a manufacturing automation engineer, every company wanted you because they were all, every pharmaceutical company was following that. With that wave, I was able to go to GlaxoSmithKline. This is in the later 90s. And if you remember, then e-commerce was very big. And we actually believed that we could sell everything on the internet. And realized that there are a lot of limitations. But e-commerce was big. We did things like drugstore.com, Tums, Oxy, and all these products. Some of this which we could sell, some of it which we couldn't. So the lessons learned there was there's such thing as a channel conflict. The basics of marketing doesn't disappear. So if you go online and try to sell Tums directly to customers, people like Walmart would shut you up. We didn't know that. It sounds very obvious. We didn't know that. We went and did all that. We made all the mistakes. But e-commerce was huge. Every company rode e-commerce wave. So I was fortunate to run that. Honeywell, and I think Michelle Casanova was here from Dun & Bradstreet. She worked with me in Honeywell so she can validate this. I was hired as the VP of digitization for Honeywell. And the point being, in 2000, that was the wave. People talked about going from bricks and mortar companies to clicks and mortar, and they were digitizing the entire company. They were digitizing internal processes, systems, data, and so on. And I was hired in, that was my title, and people don't believe. Now they talk about CDO, and I said in 2000, they were CDOs. The point here being, if you stay long enough in the industry, the wave will come back. And everybody will believe it's a new wave. My lesson learned is, please don't remind people it's an old wave. Just write it again. That's the easy ride. So people are coming and talking about chief digital officers, and they're going to revolutionize, digitize it. Well, I got 15 years in that experience. So I'm not going to go and say this is new. I'm not going to say it's old. I'm going to say this is fantastic. What do you really mean? So waves do come back, and if you're here long enough, I don't know if the e-commerce wave will come back, but certain waves will come back for sure. The Honeywell, what happened is I started as non-IT. I was a shadow IT, chief digitization officer, or VP of digitization. Moved in and became the CIO for Honeywell because it still requires basic information technology skills to deliver. You still have to deliver process, people, change management, and technology. So luckily, I had an IT background, and I was able to go as a CIO for all of Honeywell. Then a few years, 3-4 years ago, I wanted to learn about Silicon Valley. And I joined Juniper Networks, also mainly because my kids went into Berkeley, and it was close enough I wanted to be close enough to them. But in Juniper, the whole way was the cloud. So we had a why not cloud strategy, and we pushed a lot of things to the cloud. What I quickly realized is, a lot of things can go to the cloud. A lot of things can go to the SaaS model. Not all of it can go to the cloud. Especially not all of it could go to the public cloud. And also, what going to the cloud allows you to do is free up some of your operational work. Most of us are, I'm sure, buried in operational jobs. That's why we're not being chief innovation officers and chief digitization officers. Not because we are stupid, because we have a big job to do, and you run critical information resources. But if you do it 100% of the time, and you're not able to free up your time, somebody else is going to come and do the innovation for you. So how do you free up initially 5% of your time, and then 10% of your time, and then hopefully 20 to 30% of your time? I don't think there would ever be a time in my span where you'll spend 80% of your time as a CIO working on innovation and 0 to 20% of your time on operations. This job requires operations. And the minute you move away from operations, the credibility for you as a CIO disappears. And I'll give you an example. When you folks come to my briefing center, you want to talk to the real CIO. They actually ask that question. I don't want people to talk about virtualization. I want to talk about somebody who actually runs your cloud for you. And if I go and tell them, well, I used to do that, but now my full-time job is to just brief people like you, you don't get credibility. I mean, you may listen to me, but then you say, can I talk to the real guy? And they actually don't want to even talk to me. They want to talk to the person who runs the data center, which is what I would do. And I don't blame you. So the way I've thought about it is you cannot get rid of your operational responsibilities completely, but you could free up some time to work on more value-added work. So in Juniper, I was able to spend quite a bit of my time on product innovation. So what we figured out is once you put the email on the cloud, I honestly don't want to run the email. And I don't want to run some of the SaaS applications. They run pretty well. But the core of most of the technology companies is product innovation and life cycle. So can you actually build a hybrid cloud for the engineering group and reduce the time it takes to launch a new product? That was the killer app and the wave there. In VMware, there's two waves. One is to catch the wave. There's still a lot more to do internally in a hybrid cloud. There's a lot more things to fix operationally. I'm not going to say everything runs perfectly, but that can be overcome. So first, you have to earn the right. You got to make sure the email and payroll works. It's like a Maslow's law of hierarchy. But then you have a few minutes now to work on your hybrid computing inside, so your engineers can get hardware on demand, and they're not ordering computers. Or you can work with your marketing to go target customers and get analytics. The fact that I'm able to come and talk to customers here, and most of the customer events that we run in VMware, I will play a part in it, is a testament to the fact that the technology has come up to a stage where I have some breathing time. And obviously the staff that I have who are actually watching it. So I can actually spend 10, 15% of my time or 5% of my time talking to people like you who actually use the products. But in VMware, I have kind of oriented my team into thinking that they are their customers. Well, we use all the products we make, and we use them extraordinarily well. All our mobile systems are covered by our AirWatch MDM solution. When we want to launch Windows 10, we're going to launch it on a virtual desktop. I mean, that's our plan. So we can do it in a very short time. We have very, very, very few people running our internal cloud. So the whole point in information technology is we have somewhere along the line forgotten, I believe, that automation is key. So when we started outsourcing and moving things to lower cost locations, we started doing cost arbitrage rather than figuring out how to actually automate. So the whole focus now is we don't want to have 1,000 people running our internal clouds. We want to have 4 people, 4 very good people, or 2 very good people. We want them to run our internal cloud. So it doesn't become a huge labor game like we used to play in the previous era, but it's very clever, very few folks running it very effectively. So that's the challenge in VMware is how can you be I am the customer, I represent the customers, I represent all of you, and we try to do the best job to save you from tricky contracts or bad marketing or bad sales or bad product launches. We do the best we can. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to be successful all the time. But I kind of put myself into your shoes and say, how would I feel if a sales pitch is oriented this way? How would I feel if somebody just comes and tries to sell more without looking at my business solutions? We do a lot of presentations to our sales team to say, what does the CIO think? And it's more than the CIO, it's the IT organization. We spend a lot of time with marketing. So there's always a question about CMO, IT, the conflict. Why should there be a conflict? I work for the same company she does, and I want to get I make a lot of money if the share price goes up. I make a lot of money if you guys are happy. I mean, but we all work for more than just for money. So the whole goal is how do you be the customer, the voice of the customer, and represent it and add share value, if you will. So some of the things we're looking at is going from a back office orientation to a front office leadership. It's not easy. It's not easy. That 90% of the organization still wants you to focus on back office. So, I mean, you can't just get away from it. So, A, you have to get your back office working fine, but you also deliberately have to have an innovation point, a mindset to say, spend at least 5% of your time or 5% of your spare time on doing more than back office. So instead of a function-centric, we always have discussions on shadow ITs and how do you manage it and so on. We have all those problems, obviously. In every place I work, we've had those problems. But how do you channel that? How do you get them to work for the company rather than against each other? So going from a very function-centric view to we all need to generate money and productivity for the company. How can we do that? So we always get measured on release, how many releases we've done, availability of systems, which are all important. But now it's business outcomes. The fact that I've got something running 100% of the time or 99.9999% of the time, but it doesn't add any value, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What is the actual business outcome that we've delivered? And so on. It's more customer focused. It's more business focused. It's instead of decision making from a CIO, most of the time, and sometimes the partners find it difficult to believe, I actually tell them, here are the decision makers in my team and in the business groups. Please go talk to them. Because most sales are done to the CIO. And we try to go and tell them, I'm interested, I'll make the introductions, but I'm not going to override a decision that somebody in my organization is going to be held accountable for. And project management, we are good at project management, but we always come back with, where's the business start? Where does the interface starts? Where does IT deliver? And we're trying to say, can we take it end to end? Because if the whole thing doesn't work, it doesn't matter that IT delivered, right? So yes, requirements are not going to be good. The businesses are not going to get involved, but you still have to ensure the success of the project. So can we take as a team end-to-end approach? The other thing we talk about is the whole customer experience. So again, I wanted some discussion on this later as well. So we always thought about there's B2B businesses and B2C businesses, and we say we can't do what Uber is doing or Amazon is doing because we're really not that class of business. My argument to you is a consumer buys your goods regardless of which business you are in. So my argument is every business is a B2C business because a consumer buys it. So if somebody goes to Amazon and has a shopping experience to buy shoes, they would like to buy your servers in the same experience. They don't kind of say, you know what, it's a B2B company, so I don't mind that I have to click 4 more times, and my credit card is not really there, and the delivery is not done on time because it's really B2B. No, the people say, I ordered my shoes, and I know where it is. Why is it so difficult to get a server? Why can't I get a website quickly? Why is it so difficult to procure something on the cloud? So every business is becoming a B2C. And one thing I would encourage us to do, and I've started doing this, is have you tried doing business with yourself? It's very difficult, I'm finding out. It's very difficult on how to engage the sales team. There's a plethora of marketing materials. There's a plethora of websites. It's, but how easy it is to do that? Can you just search and find an order and get it delivered? Have you tried calling your solution center? And it is tedious. It's quite tedious. So the CIOs and the IT organization owning the customer experience is another opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves. Because if you don't own the user experience, who does? Here's a point of view on the digital deficit, which we talked about. As you know, and it's not quite true in the organizations I've worked. Everybody says the IT organization is kind of flat, but the business spending is going very high. There are a lot of studies to prove this, so I have to believe it's true. It's not been in my personal experience. The CIO still controls a big portion of the budget and makes a lot of decisions. So folks who bypass the CIO to go to sell are kind of shortchanging themselves. But let's assume the data is true, because I've heard it so many times. There's a big digital divide. And what is happening is most of the CIOs or most of the CEOs and the business units are saying, well, my IT department is OK. They run my email, payroll, benefits, SAP, ERP, and so on. But I really need to revolutionize my business. So let me put some more money, but I don't want to give it to these guys because they are back office engine operators. I want to give it to my business person, or I want to give it to my CDO or my chief innovation officer, so he and she can go deliver this exponential value. I submit to you, those experiments will show up pretty soon as big failures. That's just because we've done that before. It takes a lot of effort to roll out a system. It's very cool to talk about rolling out a new process, but it's not that easy when you to scale it and roll it out. But there is a lot of money there. And what happens now is also, they don't really need the data center. They don't really need the data center folks, the IT folks to deliver it. So you can go to a cloud or a SaaS provider and get it. In fact, a lot of the sales cycles, the salespeople are trained not to talk to the CIO, but talk to the business person to get the funding, to get the job done. That's how a lot of cloud businesses have grown. But what's happening, though, is we're still in the early stages of that wave, I believe. We were in the experimental stages in 2013, up to 2013. There were a lot of things I couldn't do on the cloud even 2 years ago. But now I look back and said, my God, how much has changed in 2 years? Now is a good time to jump on that wave and take advantage of that. And jump on both the waves. There's the public cloud wave, and there's the hybrid cloud waves. So whatever advantages you get from your public cloud that you're not able to do because of security reasons, or confidentiality reasons, or just your comfort level, now is a good time to be in the professional phase. We're still not done yet. I think there's a lot more work to be done, but this is a good time to catch the wave. So we talked a lot about hybrid cloud and what is the hybrid cloud. I mean, just a small token for this is, can you take all the technology that's happening in the cloud and apply it internally for your company? And there are 2 or 3 reasons why you want to do it. One is, how many of you remember companies like Genuity and Exodus? They were called what were they called? The application service providers. They were like the cloud of the 2000s. A lot of them went out of business. And guess what? People like me had to bring all those services back inside the data centers without any money. It was a very painful experience. So I will be really uncomfortable in taking my core critical data and just relying on somebody blindly. So I think there are 2 reasons. One is just that, and we believe that way would never happen. If you lived in those times, you'll say these companies are going to keep going forever, and they're better than you, they're more secure than you. The valuation is sky high, and the CEOs used to call me and said, I don't know why we are hosting anything. You should put it all on this Genuity or whatever the cloud was. And it was very painful. It went out of business in a very, very short time. So this is your company core competency. In outsourcing it or putting it somewhere else, you have to be very thoughtful about it. So that would be my first reason. The second reason is you do need, at certain things, the flexibility to move even faster than what the external cloud can provide. Believe it or not, because if it's R&D in your core competency, you want to have all your proprietary information there. You want to make sure that it's the most flexible system you have. You want to deliver services in a very, very fast time, not be dependent on an external provider to do that. The good news is a lot of the investments you've made today with a lot of your service providers, they're all offering you this hybrid computing alternative. Think of it as a cloud in a box. It's a good option for you to consider to catch the wave. So my recommendation is you've already made a lot of investments, leverage them and use them, and make it cloud-like inside your data center. This is how VMware does it, and a lot of you are VMware customers. So if you are a VMware customer, you have a path to build your hybrid cloud and to go to your external cloud already. So make sure. My only message here is you already purchased this software. In a lot of cases, you have ELAs with us. Make sure your account team helps you drive to the cloud. Make them accountable to help you deliver. Get more value out of the investment you have than what you have already. So let's talk a little bit about the next wave on mobility. We talked about cloud. So there's a lot of things in mobility. There's this individual productivity, which all of you know about. We couldn't have found this place without Waze. We used it yesterday. So, I mean, we all live and die with our mobile apps, and this happened in a short time. The team productivity apps, there are a few examples of that. But then business mobility, when you look at it, you find that 85% of the apps that are being developed, and I think it's actually higher. This is a survey we actually did. 85% of the apps being developed are for individual productivity or individual commercial grade or consumer grade apps. A few on team productivity, and there are some new apps coming on team productivity which are extremely good from the Valley. They say 17% on business mobility. Even that seems high to me, right? And when I ask people how many mobile apps do you have in an enterprise, people all say they are mobile first, they have the strategy. How many do you have? They say 3, 4, and when you ask what they are, the fourth or the fifth one goes into things like cafeteria menus and conference room finders and so on, which really is an experimental one. I mean, that's not going to deliver a whole lot of value. So the enterprise mobility seems to be really not there. And so over two-thirds of the apps are here, and there's so much noise being generated. So why is this happening? Why is we need to move? And so we look across industry in the survey. None of the industries were really that far ahead. Retail is somewhat ahead, finance is somewhat ahead, but even the way they define enterprise mobility is still a consumer app. So Airbnb may call their mobile app as an enterprise app. It's an enterprise for them, but it's really a consumer app for the rest of us, right? So it's really lacking a lot of that. And we've been thinking about this a lot and saying, why is this not happening? I mean, you would think you would have 50 apps internally. And what companies are doing is now they're buying the mobile applications from people like Concur, Coupa, SAP, whatever, and they're rolling out they are mobile enabling them. So if you go to Concur, you get a good Concur app. That's still not a business. I mean, that's good. You're leveraging some of your investment you made in an application environment, but you're really not creating unique workflows and values on the mobile environment. Right? It is very hard. Now, a lot of it is things like BYOD. We still struggle with that, and I don't want to take up the whole conference. We've been talking about this BYOD for a long time. I have a feeling that way will go this way. People would initially want to own all the equipment, and then the IT guys don't want to run your equipment. We're tired of buying these things and giving it to you, so we want to get out of it. Now that IT wants to get out of owning the devices, all of a sudden the users say, I come to work, I want you to provide a computer and a mobile environment for me, right? So I think we see both sides of the equation where people want this. I think people want the option. They want to have the cake and eat it too. But I'm not talking about that. I mean, there are good solutions to handle mobile device management now, mobile security, et cetera. This creativity seems to be lacking here. We're not looking for these unique mobile moments. When I'm in a car and I am stuck in traffic, I have a mobile moment. I have to figure out how to get out of the mess I'm in. I don't have a computer with me. I have my phone. I have a GPS. And I hit Waze, and the power of social networking and GPS, it tells me there are 8 ways to get out of here. That's a clear mobile moment. We need those kind of mobile moments in the enterprise. We're just enabling enterprise applications to work in a mobile mode right now, is my argument. And I want to learn if you folks are doing something better than what we're doing. So now we're really challenging the teams to say, I don't want you to just take the old, ugly applications and put a pretty front end and put it on mobile. OK, do it. That's OK. We need to do some of that. But that's not really creating unique mobile apps. What are the unique mobile moments where I'm here right now, and I need to do a transaction, and the only way I can do it is with my phone? So I have a feeling, and my argument is, still the creativity is missing there. Focus is missing. And all of us are following each other. And so most of us put an MDM solution, you'll buy an AirWatch and put it in. OK, that's good. Thank you. But then what happens after that? You enable a few regular applications, enterprise applications. OK, you're done. Then you start writing some mobile apps. And this is where you say, should I write a cafeteria menu app? Should I do a conference room finder? So we're not challenging our teams and ourselves to find real creative workflow applications. Hopefully, when we come next year, we can do a whole session on on, or a couple of years, we can do a session on how mobile is enabling enterprise even more. So in all these waves, there are two waves, as I talked about, mobile and cloud, and I did not talk about social and big data because everybody's talking about big data. A lot of people are taking pretty much data processing, regular data analytics, and calling it big data. It's okay. We need to do more work in data, I understand, but that's what IT does. I mean, we've been doing data processing for a long time. We should do more of it. The bigger thing that is happening is, and social, I mean, all of us roll out the Yammers, the Socialcast, and other kind of applications. There's marginal value in them. We still haven't explored the social networking between companies. We are doing intra-company social. It'll be, I think, more valuable if we can do it across companies in a B2B fashion. But I haven't seen social take over the enterprise completely yet. So I think we have some more things to do. But the key issues here comes into innovation and differentiation. So if you have email and I have email, I've just equalized the differentiation. So I get no advantage with it. You know, I cannot do a business anymore without email, but it doesn't really differentiate me from you. So if I want to get a step ahead, it's not just rolling out what somebody else has done. It's rolling out things faster or better than what the competition is doing. And I think we need to do a better job there as a profession. I think most of us sometimes, it's like a crowd mentality. We all come and see what other companies are doing, and we go and implement it, which is good. It's good to be a good, fast follower. But you know, we need to be differentiating as well. And the security and governance is a huge issue. I know people don't like to talk about it. I've talked about it quite a bit. It does worry me. It doesn't worry me because I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job for several reasons. And if you're afraid of losing your job, you can't go into your work at all. So I fully expect to be fired from my job sometime soon. And I've been expecting that for the last 30 years. And everybody's writing about when the CIOs are going to be fired, and it hasn't happened. I'm sure it's going to happen pretty soon. But that's not the point. It's not an ambulance chasing scare tactics. Security actually does worry me because it seems like an unfair battle. You know, you're fighting foreign nations and so on. So this is a worrisome one, and you need help from partners to solve this problem. So let me talk about my passion. I think talent is the key. What is the differentiator you have? Talent is the key. Before I used to work in different parts of the world, in China, in India, in Europe, in East Coast, and now in the West Coast. What is so special about the West Coast? I always used to think of those folks from California as one of those guys who, you know, who said man every minute and called dude, and I mean, they were not really professional folks. I had this opinion about these Californians, or especially the Silicon Valley folks, which was not really flattering, till I started working there. And I have changed considerably. One of the things you're finding out is in IT, size of the organization doesn't really matter. I don't really care that you have $2 billion budget. I don't really care you have 8,000 people or 8 million people. One person can change the whole thing. And if you don't believe it, go and figure out how many people wrote Unix. Go figure out how many people wrote Lotus Notes. Go figure out how many people wrote Linux. How many people wrote MS-DOS, VMS. You can go a long way, and this is a history of an individual changing the entire world, right? Or two people or three people collaborating and changing the entire world. So there are folks who can run 10,000 VMs just all by themselves with automation and intellectual curiosity. And then you have 10,000 people running one VM each at $13 an hour. And you have to make a choice on should I pay $200,000 or $300,000 to get that one person who can run 1 million VMs or 10,000 VMs, or should I hire 1 million people at a lower cost to do the same work? So I believe talent is a big differentiator. And we are all competing. That's where we are competing with each other, is that. Luckily, a lot of companies are not good at looking for talent. They are not able to accommodate the new set of folks. A lot of the folks who are coming out, the smart folks, will not be able to work in some of our core companies because it doesn't fit. The culture doesn't fit him. You wouldn't respect them. You wouldn't value them. They would not have leadership material. They wouldn't have executive presence. So talent is a key differentiator, and I think this is going to make the big difference for you. And why I joined VMware is a thought I would want to leave you with. One is obviously the architecture. I've been a customer of VMware for a long time. I'm very happy with the products we purchase, and it saved me a ton of money. But the value system is why you join. I believe my children will not work for a company that just makes money. I believe your children would work for a company that changes the world and really changes the world. The next generation of folks are motivated by things like, I want to solve world hunger. They really want to solve world hunger. And it's very inspiring to talk to those folks. And does your company value have those core sense of changing the world, paying attention to your foundation efforts, things that we never paid attention as business folks, right? A foundation is something you do. It's a good thing to do, and you can't say anything wrong against it. But if you look at the great talent, they want to say, how is this company going to help me change the world? And those kind of value systems, I think, attract the people. Money is important. Free food, I mean, we talk a lot about the Google campuses, the free food, the campus environment, and we have a spectacular campus. But that is not the differentiator. The differentiator is people want to come in. They really feel like now we can change the world. So, and next company I'm going to work for, and one of the reasons I joined, and if I have to go to another company, it's going to be a company that's going to change the world even more than my current company, not something that is paying me more money. So I would submit to you, it sounds a little radical, but please talk to your children, which I do, and I learn a lot from them, and you'll be surprised how much more passionate folks are, the younger folks, especially the really smart ones, on doing more than getting a paycheck. With that, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to discussions after these presentations.